your mobile. There are apps to do that. Now the question which we were asking is, these random networks which we are generating, are they close to real world networks? So are they a correct representation of real world networks? So what we are going to do now is compare the properties of these random networks with the real world networks. So the first real world network which we are picking is Jackery Karate Club network, which is a small one, right? So what I want to do is, I want to compare a random network against the Karate Club network, and I want to study their properties. So how similar or how different they are. The two properties which we are right now focusing on are assortativity and the average path length. Now one problem here is, we cannot just like that compare any random network to the Karate Club network. So your Karate Club network has 34 nodes, right? So I cannot just use the network which we generated, which is a network on 5 nodes, and compare it with a network on 34 nodes. That doesn't make sense, right? So when I am generating a random network here, so that network should also be on 34 nodes. So I'm going to take Karate network on one side, I'm going to keep the random network on another side, and that random network is also going to have 34 nodes. Okay, next comes the number of edges. So again, I cannot compare any random network with the Karate Club network. So again, it doesn't make sense. So how do you choose the value of P here? Right, my Karate Club network has 78 nodes. Again, it doesn't make sense to compare this network here having 78 nodes with a Karate network, having 78 edges with a random network having 5 edges. Again, it doesn't make sense. So again, I want a random network having 34 nodes and 78 edges. The only difference between these two networks will be the density of both of these networks will be same. The only difference between them will be how these edges are placed, and that will result in a change in the properties which we are talking about. So Karate network we already have. Now I want to create a random network which has 34 nodes and 78 edges. Can you tell me what should be the value of P? Because for my model I need to give these two things, N and P. Right, N I have, which is 34. I know I want to have 78 edges, but actually what I need here is the value of P. Can someone think about how we can compute P here? So what should be the value of P here such that we end up getting 78 edges? So for that, let's ask this question. Given a random network to you which has n nodes and every edge is there with a probability of P, let's say m is the number of edges. Can you comment on what is the expected value of m? Can you give me an expression for this? I am having n nodes. P is the probability with which I place every edge in the network. So what is the expected number of edges in this network? So have you heard about random variables and expectations? You can type in the chat window a +1 or a -1. That's okay. If you don't know it, I'll explain it here. Okay. Okay, so random variable is one which can take multiple values. So as an example, assume I am throwing a dice, right? So I can randomly get any of these values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So the value which I am going to get after this experiment, that is a random variable. And let's say I am asking what is the expected value of this random variable. So I'll come to the expected value later. So we have two kinds of random variables. One are discrete and other are continuous. So discrete random variables, they can take a value from a set. So the same example, like tossing a dice, right? I can have these discrete values 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 6. On the other hand, a continuous random variable can have any value on a number line. So let's say give me a real number from 0 to 1. So there I have my random variable on a continuous line. So we are going to talk here about your discrete random variables. So let's say I do some experiment. So it can be, let's say I have certain chits in a box. So these chits can have any values and randomly I'm going to draw one chit. Or let's say generally we use balls for these experiments. So let's say I have a bag in which I put a number of balls. Each balls again can have a number written on it 1 2 3 4. It can even be a string or anything else, right? So I can randomly draw any of these balls out. So that is my experiment, and the possible values which can pop up, they are the possible values of this random variable. So assume that in this bag I have values from, so I'm going to define a discrete random variable as x here, right? And I say that x it can take, so I'm going to do this experiment once, and this x it can take values from x1, x2, so on and so forth up to xk. So assuming I have k number of balls here, x1 is the value which is on printed on the first ball, x2 is the value which is printed on second ball, so on and so forth. I have xk balls. So this random variable can take these values here. Now expected value of a random variable tells me if I just put my hand in the box and I take out any of the ball, so what is the what result is expected. So on an average, what is the value I get here? Now there can be two things. One thing is when each of these ball has an equal probability of being drawn out, right? So I put my hand and draw out each ball. So every ball will have an equal probability. On the other hand, in certain experiments, this might not be true. So in certain particular cases, maybe something is happening so that each ball doesn't have the same probability of being drawn out. So let me say that if I put my if I pick any of the balls, x1 comes out with a probability p1, x2 comes out with a probability p2, so on and so forth, xk comes out with the probability pk. So definitely your p1 plus p2, so on and so forth up to pk is going to be equal to 1, right? So I say that the expected value of this random variable is x1. So assuming x1 is a numeric value here, x1 into p1 plus x2 into p2 plus x3 into p3, so on and so forth up to xk into pk. So you can very well observe it. Let's say I was throwing a dice and then I'm looking at what is the expected value I will get on one throw of a dice. So the expected value will be 1 into, so what is the probability then that I'll get a 1 on the dice? It is 1 by 6 plus 2 into, what is the probability that I'll get a 2? Is 2 into 1 by 6 plus 3 into 1 by 6, so on and so forth, right? Let's say you are doing it for a coin toss and then I want to see what is the expected value of this random variable. Let's say I have assigned 1 to head and 0 to tail, right? So 1 to head, and what is the probability that you see head? It is 1 by 2 plus 0 for tail. What is the probability that you see a tail? It's again 1 by 2 and you end up getting a half here. Okay, let me ask you this question. So it might be difficult to understand in the first go. Let's take a simpler scenario. So let's say I toss a coin r times. I have a fair coin and I toss it r times. So can you tell me what is the, and let's say my random variable x here is the number of heads I get. Let me again repeat the experiment. I am tossing a fair coin r times. My random variable x here is the number of heads. So can you tell me what are all the possible values which x can take? I can have 0 heads, I can have one head, I can have two heads, so on and so forth. On a maximum, I can have r heads. So these are the values your random variable can take. What I am interested in finding is what is the expected value of x, right? So on an average, how many heads will I get? And I think all of you already know the answer. So if I toss a fair coin 100 times, so on an average, I should get 50 heads, right? But now what we are talking is how do you exactly get that expression? How do you represent it mathematically?
Uh,
Yes, Harshit.
Ma'am, into 5, ma'am. Sorry, into 0.5, sorry.
Into 0.5, right? And why are you doing that 0.5? What is that 0.5?
Basically, 50% probability, ma'am. Check that.
50% probability, right? If it was 20% probability, you will multiply it with 0.2,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So now there are two ways of computing this here. So I want the expected value of x here. So if you see here, x is a discrete random variable. So one way is I'll show you two ways of doing this. So the first way is slightly complicated. So again, using the same formula which we used previously. So what is the expected value of x? 0 into probability that you got 0 heads plus 1 into probability that you got 1 head plus 2 into probability that you got 2 heads, so on and so forth, right? And then again you can compute all these probabilities, put them in the formula, and when you compute this it will turn out to be r by 2. But this will require an enormous amount of computation. So what we do is to use another technique of indicator random variable. Has anyone heard about this? What is an indicator random variable? So this is what we are exactly going to use in our experiment of random graphs. So till now we said that a random variable, it can be a discrete one which can take values from a set, or it can be a continuous one which can take values from a number line. An indicator random variable is one which can take only two values, 0 or 1. Right? So let me represent an indicator random variable as I. So it can take two values, 0 and 1. Let's say it takes value 1 with probability p and 0 with probability 1 minus p. That's all. And now let's apply it to our example of coin tossing example. So where I was interested in, I was tossing a coin r times, and I was interested to know the expected number of heads there. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to associate an indicator random variable with every toss. So I have, let's say the first toss here, the second toss here, so and so forth, the rth toss here. So let me rather write it as 1 comma 2. So the first toss, second toss, so on and so forth up to the rth toss. I attach an indicator random variable with each of the tosses here, right? So for the first toss, I say I1 is the indicator random variable. Again, this indicator random variable I1, its value is 1. If a head shows up, its value is 0 if a tail shows up, right? So I1 equals to 1 if head, and it is equals to 0 if tail. Similarly, for second toss, I have I2, which is again 1 if you get a head, 0 if you get a tail, so on and so forth. I have an IR here, which is again 1 if you have head, and 0 if you have tail. Now can I say that my number of heads I am going to have, so let's say number of heads, can I say it is equal to I1 plus I2 plus I3, so on and so forth up to IR?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Because I1 is 1 if you see ahead, similar, otherwise 0. I2 is 1 if you see ahead, so on and so forth. What I am interested is looking at the expected number of heads, right? So expectations, they are distributive over summation. So I can write it as expected value of I1 plus expected value of I2, so on and so forth, plus expected value of IR. So this is what I have to compute now. Now this one is straightforward. So let's simply look at what is going to be the expected value of I1 here. I know I1 can take two values, 0 and 1. right? So 0 into probability that I1 is 0 plus 1 into probability that I1 is 1. Right? So this in this case was tail and this in this case was head. So it turns out nothing. So this thing becomes 0. So it is probability that I1 equals to 1. So this holds for your indicator random variable. So the expected value of any indicator random variable is simply the probability that its value is equal to 1. So in this case, I get a value 1 if it's a head here, right? And what is the probability that you get a head? It is 0.5 for a fair coin. In general, it is P. So I can say that expected value of I1 is P. Similarly, the expected value of I2, same experiment, 0 into probability that I2 is 0 plus 1 into probability that I2 is 1. So again turns out to be P, and this is P for all of these, right? So you just plug this expression here. So what do you get? P plus P plus P R times, which is nothing but P into R, right? So in case your P is half, that is it's a fair coin, you end up getting R by 2. So that is how you dissect it statistically. So you only need to remember, if I am going to do an experiment, so just remember this, if I am going to flip a coin, let's say a biased coin which shows head with probability P R times, then your expected number of heads is nothing but P into R. Now can you apply this formula to our case and determine what is the expected number of edges? So the experiment is completely the same. So all of us have done that experiment. How many times did we flip the coin? So we flipped the coin for, yes, we flipped the coin for every edge. So we have actually flipped the coin and choose 2 times. So our R
PR
is
by
nothing.
N choose to.
Yes, right?
The probability would be PR by N choose to then.
Yes. So our R is N choose 2, right? So what is my expected number of heads? Expected number of heads is nothing, but if you see it, that was nothing but the number of edges, right? So because my number of edge, I am putting an edge for every head. So both of them are nothing but the same thing. So expected number of edges, or let me say expected value of M, which we were trying to find, is nothing but P into R, which is P into N choose 2. Right? Now what is happening in our case? We are given N, which is the number of nodes. We are given M, which is the expected number of edges which we want, and we want to compute the value of P here. So the value of P here is going to be this expected value of M, which is the number of edges, divided by N choose 2. So let me just go back. Okay, what this turned out to be. So my P turned out to be, what was the formula?
Divided by MC2, ma'am.
Right? Okay. So now I wanted to create a network which was similar to the karate network here. So I can use this expression here. So what is P going to be? The expected number of edges which I want, which is 78, divided by 34 choose 2. So whenever you are given a real world network and you want to create a random network having the same density, this is what we are going to do. Since we have the number of nodes and number of edges in the real world network. So if you keep the value of P to be equal to this, so I am going to take 34 nodes and every edge I am going to place with this probability. So on an average, you will end up getting 78 edges. So you might not get exactly 78 edges, you might get 75 or 80. So you will get the number of edges which are close to the number of edges in your real world network. Okay, I'll stop here. If you have any doubt, we can clarify that. So what we are going to do tomorrow is we are going to do a bit of hands-on. So I'll ask one of you to share your screen with me, and then all of us will do it together. So we are going to create certain real-world networks having the same density as your Jacari Karate network and your Facebook network, same density and also the same number of nodes and similar number of edges, and then we'll compare their properties, and then we'll see what goes wrong or whether they are a correct representation of your real world networks. So generally for all our theoretical purposes, we use random networks because their formulae are well defined. So whenever you have a random network, it is similar to your coin tossing examples, and we have a large number of statistical formulae to look into them. Okay, any doubts? Was something difficult to understand? Did I go too fast?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, Harshit says no. Satvik, Navneet, right? So if you want me to increase or decrease my speed, do let me know. Okay, what I'll probably do is also share a document about indicator random variables with you. Okay, Satvik says no issues. Maybe you can also look into that to exactly understand what we did today.
Ma'am, the indicator random variables will be good for the if we have the more number of attributes in a problem, no, ma'am. Other than just we have two heads or tails.
So Harshit, we use indicator random variables actually to represent only two possibilities.
Okay, ma'am. That was
This
okay.
is just 0 or 1. So you might not be able to apply it in the case of a dice. You can apply it in the case of a coin because there are two outcomes.
Okay, ma'am. Okay,
So
ma'am.
whenever you have kind of thing, your answers are in the form of a yes or no, then it's better to go with indicator random variables.
Okay, ma'am. What exactly it makes difference, ma'am? Normally also we are doing the same thing, no, ma'am.
Yes, so see how it helped us was in this expression, screen is visible, right? So see when I was doing this entire thing without the help of indicator random variable here, so you see how clumsy expression we got here. So again, so here I'm not using the concept of indicator random variables, right? I'm just
Yeah, ma'am.
using the concept of a random variable. So I'm saying my random variable is x, which is number of heads. Now I know that I'm tossing the coin r times. The possible values which x can take is 0, 1, 2 up to r, right? So x is
Yes,
a
ma'am.
normal discrete random variable here. And now look at this expression of expected value of x. It is 0 into probability that you get 0 head plus 1 into probability that you get 1 head. So you will have to compute all these probabilities of 0 head, 1 head, 2 heads, 3 heads,
Yes,
which will
ma'am.
be complicated to work with. On the other hand, what we later did here is we had an indicator random variable for each of the experiments. So our experiments, each one can be 0 or 1. So it helped us simplifying our expression.
Okay, ma'am. Got it.